Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren smokes a peace pipe with Native Americans in Sioux City, Iowa. Yes, everybody's favorite non-Indian Indian, the whiter-than-wonder-bread Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts, alleged presidential candidate for the Democratic Party, was speaking before a group of Native Americans in Sioux City, Iowa, when she finally offered a public apology for years, decades of her narrative that she too is an Indian.
I know that I have made mistakes. I am sorry for harm I have caused.
When one of your children outright lies to you, and you catch them at it, and you call them out for it, and they look at you and say, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." Do you accept that? When a defendant stands before a family where he has taken the life of one of their family members, whether in a hostile situation where he had a weapon or a hit and run with his automobile, and he looks at that family and he says, "I'm sorry, it was a mistake." Is that an acceptable answer? I mean, a mistake is an error. An error can happen because you have poor judgment, because you didn't have all of the facts and you weren't exactly sure what you were doing, or you just had kind of an oops. She committed repeatedly premeditated lying. She made it up. I don't care if her grandmother told her that at one time they were, Cherokee Indians. All you have to do is look at Elizabeth Warren, listen to Elizabeth Warren. You know exactly that she comes from New England. She is pale and stale. That is Elizabeth Warren. And to continue this narrative of having been a Native American was not about her trying to be relational with Native Americans. It wasn't even about her grandmother and the memory and what she had been told from the time she was a girl. She used that lie to get herself into college, to get herself jobs, and to get herself tenure. In other words, she used affirmative action that should have been used for an actual Native American to get them out of a place of obscure poverty into college where they could have gotten an education and a hands up into a job, a career, a future. And yet Elizabeth Whiter Than Wonder Bread Warren took that and made that narrative her narrative. She lied. That is not a mistake. She lied. And her apology is one now of, "I'm going to tell the truth." And people are applauding and saying, what a wonderful job she did.
I lied to the American people. I lied about what I knew, and then I lied about what I did not know. In a sense, I was like a child who refuses to admit a fact in the hope that it'll go away. Of course, it did not go away. I was scared. Scared to death. I had no solid position, no basis to stand on for myself. There was one way out, and that was simply to tell the truth. It may sound trite to you, but I've found myself again after a number of years. I've been acting a role, maybe all my life, of thinking I've done more, accomplished more, produced more than I have. I've had all the breaks. I have stood on the shoulders of life, and I've never gotten down into the dirt to erect a foundation of my own. I've flown too high on borrowed wings. Everything came too easy. That is why I am here today.
Mr. Van Doren, I want to compliment you for that statement.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Van Doren, I would like to join the chairman in commending you for the soul-searching fortitude displayed in your statement.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Van Doren, I just want to add my kudos. I have listened to many witnesses in both civil and criminal matters, and yours is the most soul-searching confession I think I've heard in a long time.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Van Doren, I'm also from New York, a different part of New York. I'm happy that you made the statement, but I cannot agree with most of my colleagues. See, I don't think an adult of your intelligence ought to be commended for simply, at long last, telling the truth.
A scene from the movie Quiz Show, a movie made by, of all people, Robert Redford, who himself has very strong liberal leanings, and yet seems to understand that, telling a lie, not telling the truth, that says a lot about you and your character, and you shouldn't be rewarded for being a liar. So yes, Elizabeth Warren, character counts.
I have listened and I have learned a lot, and I am grateful for the many conversations that we've had together.
Ah, that makes it okay. She's learned something. You blocked people from getting the help and the hand up that they needed, that our government felt compelled to offer. And I'm not here to argue pro or con the plight of Native Americans. But through affirmative action and trying to correct and rectify some injustices of times gone past, we wanted to allow and give opportunity for Native American young people stuck on reservations, stuck in perpetual poverty, the cycle of alcoholism, and just the plight of despair, depression, despondency. We wanted to help them overcome that by, hey, you know what? The least we could do is give them a good education, give them an opportunity to train for a career, and even give them a heads up in that career that they can make a better way for themselves. And Elizabeth Warren, you snatched that away from someone. You stole it. You're dishonest. That's your character. You're dishonest. And that matters. And I do believe it will matter to the American voter.
Ed O'Keefe joins us tonight from Iowa. So how big of an issue has this been out on the campaign trail?
Well, Nora, despite the president's attacks, campaign aides say that Warren has taken 560 questions since launching her campaign in January. And she's only ever been asked about her Native American heritage twice.
What a stunning admission by a reporter. Well, out of the 500 questions that she has been asked, her campaign likes to say, she's only been asked the Native American question twice. First of all, she's been asked that a whole lot more. She's just not availing herself to those of us in the conservative media to allow us to ask her a few questions. Like, how does it make you feel knowing that your education, your jobs, your tenure, even your position as a lawyer was secured by saying that you were a Native American? You stole somebody else's affirmative action place in the line. Is that not the epitome of white privilege? I'd like to hear her answer that question. Of course, they did manage to find one Native American on the planet Well, I don't have a problem with her and what she said. I was always told if you've got just, that much Native American in you, you are. Really? And a complete ignoring by CBS News, I might add, who was conducting this interview, a complete ignoring of the fact that the Cherokee Nation actually came out very vocally, very vehemently against Elizabeth Warren and her so-called DNA test, that she is not an actual member of a tribe, and that's what Native Americans base whether or not you are a Native American on. What tribe are you with? She absolutely is a liar and a con artist. Period. But now, let's turn the page, shall we? Taking a play from Woodrow Wilson in 1919 when he enacted taxing on firearms and ammunition at a level of 10%, but it was simply an excise tax. An excise tax is what we call a perk tax. It's a privilege kind of a tax. Our community has a community swimming pool. You may never use it, but it's there for the community, and it's a privilege to have it, so we're going to assess a certain portion of your property tax to pay for this community pool, because after all, it's a perk, it's a privilege. Well, Woodrow Wilson had to acknowledge that the Second Amendment of the Constitution did allow Americans the right to own a firearm. It's your right to own one. So what he did as a backdoor around that is to say, but manufacturing a firearm, selling a firearm, that's not a right, that's a perk. So out came the excise tax, and it was low, it was 10%. Well, now Elizabeth Warren is saying, we need to up that. We need to up the manufacturing of firearms to a 30% tax, and the sale of ammunition to 50%. And she went on to say that ultimately her real goal in this is to drive down the production and sales of firearms and ammunition. So she has to acknowledge that that thing called the Constitution, that thing written by those white slave owners from a couple centuries ago, that thing does give you the right to own one. But now they're going to make it nearly impossible for you to afford one. Make it nearly impossible for gun manufacturers, gun dealers to actually be able to be in business, because now they're going to put pressure on banks. Don't loan gun manufacturers money to build more buildings, to create more jobs. Don't loan entrepreneurs and store owners money to be able to stock their stores with firearms. And by the way, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, don't you allow these purchases of firearms and ammunition to be made on credit. See, this is a backdoor gun ban, but we call it an excise tax because most Americans are stupid, don't pay attention to that words mean things. I know Ronald Reagan once said that he never lost doubt in the ability of the American people to do the right thing. And I'm going to shock you, but even as a pastor, I'm sad to say it never shocks me to watch people do the wrong thing, the inconvenient thing, the easy thing, the thing that requires the least amount of effort and don't make me think. So in other words, it never shocks me when a group of people do the stupid thing. And Elizabeth Warren is counting on you not paying attention. Everything kind of changes. We do charge a lot for tax on cigarettes and gas and to fly on a plane. Well, what's the matter with taxing guns a little more and taxing ammunition a little bit more? They want to put those businesses out of business. They don't have the constitutional standing, the legal standing, to be able to just pull it because you have a right. What they'll do is they'll just make it near next to impossible for you to practice that right. That's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a like if you appreciate the content of this video and what we do on this channel. Please share this channel with other people so that they know about it. Make sure you subscribe and smack the bell for my next rant.